Hi guys, have you met Bayanda, the SU president?
Hi guys, have you met Ifeyinwa, the BAME Student Volunteer Officer?
Okay.
As part of my Race Equality Week campaign, I thought it'd be good to highlight the works and who the BAME officer is. So we're just going to do a little conversation, interview, really relaxed, and I've just got a few questions. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what made you stand for the Black Asian Minority Ethnic Officer?
Right, so okay, straight to the point. I wanted to stand because I felt like everyone should have should have an opportunity to voice their opinion, and I feel like putting myself in a position to enable people to know they have the opportunity was something that I really wanted to do. So I did this thing for Black History Month because my school wasn't really celebrating Black History Month a lot or very well. It was very much, they would literally ask the teachers to put out like posters or like PowerPoints, and I feel like it was very minimum. So I was like, oh, why don't we do something fun? And I proposed like a round table where everyone like talked about how it felt to be part of a minority ethnic group. And that is, something that I
sort of similar
bring,
reasons for me, because I used to hold your position last year before becoming SU president,
Mm-hmm.
and I ran because I just thought there was a bit of a gap
Yeah.
in that was the community. So yeah,
Cool.
that's good to hear.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the term BAME, B-A-M-E?
I don't like it very much, to be honest. I think it really puts everyone in this box and it doesn't allow people to really live or express their culture properly, because the meaning of it is BAME, Asian, minority, ethnic, but a lot of the people who are supposed to be represented in that definition don't actually know the meaning of BAME. And when I heard the name at first, I was like, what does that mean? And I had to search it up. So I feel like if we can find another name, I mean, not us as an SU, because obviously we can't choose the title, but I think it is something to really work on,
It's like a bit of an umbrella term.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've met Asian people, especially people of Japanese, Japanese ethnic background or Chinese ethnic background. A lot of them don't associate with the term BAME because they don't feel like it fits them.
Yeah.
And it's just a bit of an umbrella term.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
And I think also with like, sometimes we don't realise like sort of, I don't want to say use the word colour, but I know like as a Nigerian, like there's this thing about like colorism as well, like people who are lighter skinned and darker skin, and I feel like it might apply to that because obviously they're darker Asians, and when you say BAME, people just think of like, let's say Nigerians or dark Africans or darker Asians, or people who are like ethnically ambiguous, that type of thing, but no one thinks of, or maybe like white South Africans or lighter people like Chinese people or Japanese people, and I just
That's fair. On to the next question.
Okay.
What does diversity, equality and inclusion mean to you?
Okay. So for me, like I said earlier, it's about the opportunity to voice your opinions, but it's also about allowing people to say their own stories and not be scared that it doesn't fit into the description or this typical stereotype of what we think their story should look like. So if you know Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, like she literally said like when she wrote one of her books, she was told by one of the American lecturers that her story wasn't fit for what he thought an African culture should look like. Well, you can't say that because one person's story of being African or being Asian or being European is not going to be someone else's story of being in that culture. And I think sometimes like even with like for Global Week, for example, I feel like there should be another sort of time to celebrate people whose parents have migrated and then they're not international students. Like say for example, you're British, but you still have some elements of you that aren't part of the British culture. and you travel sometimes to celebrate that holiday, like Christmas, or you still have family, like, you know,
Yeah.
you celebrate, you know, different celebrations with them and that type of thing. If you went for Global Week, would you class yourself as an international student?
See, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. So, I wasn't born here. I was born in Botswana, but I moved over here when I was maybe 3.
Yeah.
So I have no real memories.
Mm-hmm.
I would always consider myself as a home student because
Mhm.
I've never gone through the struggles that international students face.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would be hard for me at times to fully engage with international students just because I know I haven't had
Mm-hmm.
that international experience.
Mhm.
But I can still sort of resonate, I guess, with the international side of me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
But so my question is, when is your time to tell your story?
Good question. I feel like they would probably have to create a week just to celebrate
Mm-hmm.
being international in general,
Yeah.
rather than international students. So
Yeah.
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 But it is all about making that time so that everyone has their
Yeah.
place and understanding that everyone else's situation is slightly different.
Yeah.
you know.
And that is exactly what diversity and inclusivity is to me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the next question.
Yeah.
Here at AberSU, we believe in bystander
Yeah.
detention.
Mm-hmm.
So that's calling someone out for
Mhm.
using a racist act. So
Yeah.
what piece of advice would you give to someone if they notice racism?
Okay, so I think the thing to do is, I can't say, because I think it's a very touching and weird topic to go about, because a lot of the time the person who's being racist doesn't realize how offensive what they're saying or how offensive their action is. And I think it's to be very sort of calm when you approach them, because I think for people of certain backgrounds, like being a black woman, one of the like instinctual ways people react to you standing up for yourself is you're aggressive.
Yeah.
So I think it's sort of like, I'm not saying like, you know, don't stand up for yourself and, you know, be assertive, but I think it's sort of taking a calmer approach and saying, did you realize that the way you went about this made this person feel they were attacked racially, or, you know, something like that? Because if I feel like if you went for them straight away, like, they're still human beings and they would be defensive, and it would literally be like you pouring water on stone, like no information is going to get, you know, passed across. And I think it's very much like, you know, try and educate them and be like, well, I don't think you should say this, it might not be offensive to you,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, you know, make this person feel like, do you get what I'm trying to say? It's very much like, you know, and I know it's a bit sad that, you know, someone who's been offended has to tiptoe around the emotions of the offender.
Yeah.
It's really sad, but I think like sometimes it's painful to grow,
Yeah.
and this is like the cross we have to bear to educate people. I don't know if that makes sense.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
It's good. So, how would you advocate for diversity in the student population?
Okay, so I think it's like having different avenues to sort of let people express like their sides of their story.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but say like with the thing we're talking about, like having sort of like another time outside of Global Week
Yeah.
to allow people who have any type of international background but are home students to say, oh well, my family's from here and this is how we do things, like when I'm with my family or that type of thing. And also with things like snacks, for example, traditional snacks, or even traditional food, or even hair products. I think hair products is like a really
Yeah.
primary one. And I just think like having that accessibility when people don't have to travel all the way back to get those hair products, or even like a time where it would be like a meet and greet type of thing. Because I know there's quite a lot of students that do make hair in AberSU, and even locals as well. It could be like throw it into the locals, straight students, and it would be like, oh well, like come to the art center or come to the art gallery, and if you want to do this style, will try and do it. I know some people are not comfortable with it, but obviously you do what you want to do. So if it's there, at least you have the choice to do what you want to do.
Yeah, no, the hair products is a big thing. I used to have dreads.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was studying, like having to travel 4 hours back to Newport.
Yeah.
Just to get my hair done, and it would be so nice, even if it's like once a month. We've got like a small little studio room there. Once a month we have a deal with someone. So we say, I don't know, a week she'll take bookings to do people's hair at the uni. I know we did it for graduation. We had an on-site lady doing cutting hair. Yeah. So something like that would be great. Yeah. So
I feel like you could do anything. It's like if you want to, you would be able to. Yeah.
Cool. So the next question is, what has your experience been like in Wales so far? Do you think there is race equality here?
Right. I'm gonna say with AberSU.
Okay, that's fair.
I've been to different parts of Wales, but for very short periods of time. It's always been like to climb or to do like a new mountaineering skill and just come back. Everyone's nice in AberSU. But I think there's that problem of not being educated enough and not having experienced a lot of culture and being, involved in cultures outside of the typical British culture. Yeah. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I've always said that. I've always said that AberSU with the locals, they're not inherently racist. Yeah. There's just a bit of ignorance, and a lot of the time they don't even realise that what they're saying is wrong. It's just very outdated stuff that you can't say. Yeah.
I'm gonna share like a not very personal, but like this is something someone said to me. So it was at a night out, and obviously they were drunk, which is still no excuse, by the way. And they literally said to me, they were like, "How does it feel to be different and like look around you and not see people who look like you?" I was a bit shook because I was like, "Where exactly is this going?" And then they went ahead to say like, where I'm from, there aren't a lot of people who look like you there. Yeah. I was like, I could like, for me, because no one's ever said that to me before. So my first instinct was like I know like how that feels. And I can't believe I actually said thank you, because I was like, what on earth? Like, why are you telling me this right now? But when I started thinking about it after, I was a bit shook, because I was like, it made me feel like, is that what everyone else is thinking? Because I don't think I go around looking at people and saying, well, you're different from me. Like, clearly, I can see that there's like diversity in God's creation, but it's not my first instinct when I look at someone. Yeah. So it really took me back, and I was like, is that what you think when you look at me? Like, do you just think, oh, there's a black girl? Yeah. You know?
It's things like that.
Yeah.
Because on the surface level, it sounds, I guess, like a reasonable question to ask. But the big thing is, again, hair. I'm going to go back to hair. Yeah. It's like when people come up to you when I had dreads, obviously you've got braids in. Yeah. You'd be like, can I touch your hair? And I always respond sometimes, be like, if you said that to your white counterparts, how would they think? They would think you're being quite weird. Yeah. Why do you want to touch my hair? Yeah. And it's just little things like that. Yeah. So, yeah. And I think another one that I think I've experienced, not that I'm saying it's bad to compliment people, but I think it's the tone of the compliment. Yeah. Like, there's a way you could compliment someone and leave them feeling like they're your pet. Yeah. Oh my God, you're so pretty. Yeah. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Because when you meet someone, like I feel like maybe it's because like they might be drunk or something. Still not excusing their behavior, but I'm saying like there's a way you would compliment someone from a different ethnic background than do you get what I'm trying to say? Definitely. And you wouldn't go all squeaky and a certain way, like they're an animal. I don't know. It feels very weird. Yeah. But those type of things. Yeah. So, next question. What is the biggest mistake you see when people or organisations are trying to be more diverse?
Okay. So one of them is the miscommunication and sort of the myth surrounding positive discrimination. So for a lot of people outside of the people positive discrimination is targeted at, they don't realise how hard those people have to work for them to even be considered to be positively discriminated. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then a lot of the times you just feel like, oh well, like you got the job because they were trying to fill a quota. Well, there's a reason they're trying to fill the quota, because before, no matter how hard that person worked, they probably wouldn't have gotten the job.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you get what I'm saying? Not that now they have to work less, they're still working more than they should have, because why do, like, it's sort of like, how bad is it that a company has to make the conscious effort to make sure that they are employing people of a certain background?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, if you start to think about it like that, you're like, wait a minute. And then there's just like this thing where people still go around and say things like, well, it's not enough these days to be a white male, or you got the job simply because you're this or you're that. And like, if you think back a couple of years, or even now, the number of people who, like, how do you even say this? It's like, the people... Oh my goodness. If you count the number of CEOs named John, they're more than, you know, one black woman, or do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, the number of people of colour in that company.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Yeah, no. Stuff, when you talk about quotas, another big thing for me personally. Doesn't happen here at the SU, thankfully, but it's times where you'll be working for a company, you're the only black person of colour in this company. And whenever there is a race-related incident, a race-related query, they'll be like, oh yeah, speak to Bayanda. Oh yeah, speak to Bayanda. As if, because I'm black, I am an oracle of all knowing how to deal with everything to deal with this situation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to be your racial guru, basically. You need to stop treating me as one.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me, but...
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I think the last question is, what change would you like to see in the future? We discussed many changes throughout the conversation, but a bit of a summary of what change you'd like to see in the future. In
AberSU, just in AberSU, right? Like, or in the uni, or where?
Okay, we could say in AberSU, and then I'm going to do this question again, but then in general, in the wider community. We'll say, I'll change the question, right, cool. So yeah, so for our last question, we already spoke about change and what we'd like to see, but as a summary, what change would you like to see in the future in AberSU as a student body and in the wider community of Wales, UK, the world?
Okay, so I know like one of the things that would be nice to see is people educating themselves and not waiting for people from those communities to educate them. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because you listen to Afrobeat, no one's giving it to you to listen to. Clearly you know where to find that piece of information. Or it's either like you're scared to do it or you just don't want to do it. So I feel like it's being intentional and knowing, okay, if I say these things, well, there's a system to it. I'm affecting someone, you know, I'm affecting someone's life. Because sometimes I feel when you say certain things to people, especially about things that they can't control, like their religion or their race or their culture, it leaves a scar and they go on to think about it and they're like, why did you say that to me? What did I do to deserve this? And I feel like sometimes, you know, you make jokes, not you, we make jokes and we're like, ha ha ha, you know, like this person said this or this person said this and that. And it's this little comments that lead to, you know, these stereotypes or these offensive slurs and that type of thing. Because at the end of the day, it's little drops of water that make a mighty ocean. So I feel like it's, you know, being intentional and knowing, well, if I say that, that's going to hurt someone's feelings, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is pretty much like, you know, as a uni and in the SU. Not that it's happening, but I'm just saying, like, you know, like everyone, there's always room for improvement. And I think like in Wales as a whole, or in Britain, I think there should be sort of a vote or a move to change this BAME thing. Like,
I want to see in the future, in the AberSU community, within the student population, again, what you said, people educate themselves. I give out free anti-racism workshops, but I do that because I want to help with the education. that's not always going to be the case.
Yeah.
So people will need to learn to educate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see a lot more cases of allyship in terms of, I guess, white people, non-BAME people, BAME people, calling out their white counterparts
Yeah.
for racism
Yeah.
or just anything discriminatory. I'd like
Yeah.
to see, it's hard to monitor that it's happening, but I would love to see just an increase of people just looking out for people and calling out wrongs. It's a community effort. In the whole wider community, I would love to see just black people, Asian people, minority ethnic people, whatever ethnic background you identify. I just want to see so many different people in places of power.
Definitely.
You know, I'd love to see more black people in the police force, for example. I'd love to see more black people in the fire department.
Yeah.
I'd love to just see
more black people outdoors.
More black people
Yeah.
doing things. Just want to see that this world.
Yeah, yeah. I also have something to say at the end of this. If you have to look around twice before you say something, don't say it. Literally. Like, because then there's something wrong with what you have to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes if you have to question yourself,
Yeah.
can I say this?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's best not to say it.
Yeah.
But it's also, if you have someone who you can trust, talk it through them. I was going to say this, I don't know if it's right. It's right.
Yeah.
Because we're all here to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. It's better that you say you don't know
Yeah.
than you act like you know. So.
Cool. So yeah, that's been the conversation interview. It's been very productive.
Yeah.
I hope people learn stuff. This will also be an article form, so you can read it and watch it, but you can watch it what you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for listening, thank you for reading.